Welcome back, gentlefolk, ferals, and domesticated cryptids. I'm your host, Optometron, and this is Wonder Bathos. Tonight is a very special episode. This is the last episode of the first season. We have done 10 episodes, 10 weeks, 10 episodes, and tonight is a very special guest. His name is Whitechili Gaming. Another friend that I know IRL that I have known way longer since even before streaming was ever a thing, before content creation, beyond all that. I knew him in a previous life almost. We have been friends and colleagues and worked together, and it is so amazing that life has brought us back around to this moment and that we can continue to be friends long after the work environment and all of that stuff. So buckle up. It's going to be a fun time. Mr. Whitechili, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Whitechili. I am a Taurus.
Same.
I'm 40 years old. The sun hates me, but I like going to the beach. I like Chinese food, Asian in general, really. Yeah, that's about it. That's basically me in a
You just
nutshell.
like spouted off a bunch of stuff that everybody likes. You're like, I like video games. I like,
video games.
good weather, nice weather outside.
And Chinese buffets.
Chinese buffet. Everybody loves that. Everybody loves that. He's already pandering. He's pandering to the crowd, everybody.
That's right.
So starting off with the most basic question. I know you love telling this story. Where did your name come from?
Okay, so, which version do you want? Do you want the real accurate version or what I tell people?
I want the real accurate version because I feel like I've heard the version that you tell people.
Okay. Well, so Whitechili is a name that I came up with to fulfill a story of me being a male exotic dancer. Now, I'll tell you the whole story, and then I'll tell you the fake story inside the whole story.
Okay.
The real story is I was working at a bar, and there was a couple, two women that I very good customers. Always came in, always played the little touchscreen video game machine, and I was working as basically everything. I was kind of the cook, I was the bouncer, I was the server. I did a little bit of all of it, and I was walking by, and I heard one of them tell the other that her wife that the male Chippendales were going to be at this bar called Joe's Big Bamboo. And for some reason, without missing a beat, I just looked at him and said, "My boys are here." And they go, "Your boys?" And I go, "Yeah, I used to dance with those guys." And they were like, "No, you didn't." I said, "Sure, I did. Black Velvet, Mandingo, White Lightning. I danced with all those dudes. They were great guys, but a hell of a group of boys to be on the road with. 200 days out of the year." And so they said, well, if that's true, what was your name? And I swear, if I'm lying, I'm dying. I just looked there dead square in the eye and said, it was Whitechili because I'm white and spicy. And, so then, obviously they start cackling, a bit of a crowd starts forming. And so now I have to, they believed it. They didn't believe it, but they believed it enough to ask questions. So just on the spot, I'm building this backstory of that I danced at a place called Balls and Bats. Balls and Bats. It was baseball themed. I was the third baseman. It was conveniently located next to the Shady Oaks Rest Home. That I would come out and warm up the crowd for the final act of the night, and they would say, "Come to the main stage, Whitechili," and when they heard my name, you would hear nothing but oxygen tanks firing up because all of the retirees were just excited, And so I got exceptionally lucky that I chose balls and bats because when I went home, I Googled it to find an all male review named that. And sure enough, there was one in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was like, this is perfect. God. So, I went on the rest of the night without telling them that it was fake, that none of that happened. And so the story kind of grows, and then I'm one of the rare individuals that got to choose their own nickname because people started calling me that, and when they would, I would egg it on. I would do some little dance move or something, and I would say, these knees, they ain't what they used to be. Of course, at that time, I was only 25. So
Right.
It's not like the back and the knees should have gone by then, and then, of course, inevitably someone would say, well, who would, because I've always been overweight, and, you'd get some asshole that said, well, who would pay to see you naked? And I would say, look, for those of us that are over 300 pounds that do the kind of work that I did, we got paid well to do it.
Right.
Right. Because if you can move it, you'll get the money.
Right. Hey, there's somebody, we don't kink shame. There's somebody out there for everybody, right? There's a huge market.
And I would tell them I didn't turn anybody away,
for the BBWC,
right.
the big beautiful white chili.
So fast forward a few years, I have a friend who had heard that story, who was a barfly at that place and worked at a tattoo parlor. And she kept telling me, I would love to, you don't have a tattoo. I would love to give you a tattoo. What are we going to do? And so I was like, sure, and she just kept saying, I'll charge you cost. It's no big deal.
Right.
We're usually slow during the week. Just come on by. And we decided to do the Whitechili tattoo, which does span between both of my shoulder blades. It's as wide as my back is.
Just huge bold lettering, Whitechili.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
It only brings validation to the story because, someone says, well, that's all bullshit and there's no way that that's true. And I'm like, well, why would I have it tattooed on my body if it wasn't real?
Right.
And then inevitably they're like, no, it's not. And so I pull up my shirt and I'm like, yeah, there it is. Now what are you going to say? And then I have gone through, like years of people believing somehow that I used to be a male exotic dancer.
I believed you for years while working with you, and I believe a lot of our colleagues did too at the time. Like everybody thought it was true.
That is people upset, genuinely upset when I told them that no, I wasn't a male exotic dancer.
They were mad about it. I mean, see, that is the exact type of like comedic off the cuff storytelling that transcends into legend. It is legendary status, and you have it tattooed on your back now. That is by far one of the coolest stories I've ever heard, and that is fantastic. Congratulate, just GG to the commitment to it, because that is wonderful.
The bit was too good to let go, and then I used to tell, they would say, somebody else would say something, and I would say, well, when you go from town to town like a wrestler, people get a little tired of the Whitechili gimmick, so you have to come up with other personas like a wrestler moving from territory to territory. So I would also tell them that one of my names was the Suspicious Package. I would come out with some trunks on that had a clock on my crotch and it was counting down. And when I walked out on stage, I would say, any bomb technicians in the audience? And I'd have a flashlight, And then I'd say, I got a suspicious package that needs inspected. So that always would get a big laugh, but it was all just, it's all just layers to the onion of trying to build this false reality and try to draw people into it.
It is. I mean, seriously, just looking at it, like like from an outside perspective, that's like some of the greatest comedians, well, I mean, not greatest of all times, but like some of the biggest comedians out there. You look at like Bert Kreischer and like the Machine story about how he like robbed joined the Russian mafia on a college trip to Russia and like robbed a train and stuff, or like Ron White's tater salad, stuff like that, where you think about it, you're like, they're so good at telling the story that you believe them automatically, but then afterwards you kind of start to think like maybe they like embellished. They definitely embellished and added stuff to it to give it more of that alluring flair, and just over time telling it over and over again, it just becomes like it becomes the truth,
Right. You just never deviate from the facts.
Right.
Like I had to commit to memory the first night that I ever thought of it, because it was like the next night somebody was like, what were they talking about yesterday? And I have to go through it all again and then go through it again. And the only way something like that ever stays believable is if you never deviate from what you ever said. And if someone presses you to come up with something else, well, they now have to remember that too.
Right.
And that has to be added to it, because I want to be able to walk out of the room and then everyone starts talking amongst themselves and they all have the same, they all have the same map.
Right. So two separate people that have heard the story separately. They're like talking to each other and like comparing notes and stuff. Yeah, I got you. No, that is fantastic. So I love that story. And so now you're the legend is born. Whitechili is born. You've got the name. You've had it for years and years now. What brought you to Twitch? How did you find Twitch? And what was your inspiration for getting into it and becoming a streamer?
Well, I never thought about it until I talked to you about it.
While we're still working together? That. Yeah. I think if I had to guess, I could probably put myself in there as part of the inspiration.
Sure.
I'm honored. I'm honored.
Well, because so you might not know this part of it. You would talk about it and then you would say, I guess you would tell a lot of different people about it. And it was always, and of course, like the boomers are going, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
Why would anyone spend their time doing something like that? And then I would go, I think he's seeing some results.
Yep.
I mean, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that it's stupid.
Right. Exactly.
So it took me, I don't mind talking about like me on a personal level, but I don't like doing it in a large, like uncontrolled situation.
Right.
So it took me a very long time to warm up to the idea of doing it. And I still to this day I don't want it to turn really into something like the chances of it becoming like this huge thing are so small.
Right.
But I am one of the few people I think that really doesn't want to hit that lottery. Like I would be comfortable. I've said the same thing this entire time. I wish it would break even. Right. I wish the money and time I'm putting into it, I would just have a net zero. And I would be okay with that.
Right. I highly agree, and like I'm kind of in the same boat. Like you've got your PewDiePie is retired, but you've got your Markiplier and like your Amarants and like your big huge streamers, and like at that point too, like I don't know, man. It when it becomes a job,
right.
and you can't talk to chat because it's moving a million miles an hour, so there's no
right.
point in even trying to look at it. Like I feel like that takes the allure out of it.
Yeah,
and I I get what you're saying, because like you have a very like commanding presence. Like if you enter a room with people, especially while we were like working together and stuff, it's like, oh my god, there's not chill. I'm not gonna say your real name, but where's Whitechili, you know, and that's awesome. That's an awesome feeling. You're a likable character. People like you. They love your stories and they like hearing you talk and stuff. And I think that translates really well to the type of community that you're trying to build. You know, I think that's fantastic. But I get it, not wanting to blow up and become like a million viewers in chat. Yeah.
Right. I also know though that like I don't do well on my own. Like it's like streaming. I don't think I could do it by myself every day
with nothing to go off of.
Right.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Better.
The comedy, you need something to feed off of. Like I'm definitely
feedback.
I react to whatever else is going on around me. That is definitely my comedy style too. So I get that 1000%.
And I've always been really adept at figuring. Oh God, I don't even know if I want to say that out loud. Well, yeah, I guess so.
No holds barred here, man.
Well, yeah, I've always been really adept at figuring out like what people find funny,
right,
and then just feeding them that over and over. Yeah. You know, like I mean, to the point I used to have to catch myself of doing it. Like, am I being a character or am I being this person's? You know what I mean? Like, am I being genuine with this group of people or am I just playing a part? You know,
I can see that kind of like identity crisis, but I don't know. I feel like it happens naturally with everybody, you know, like you're not the same person you are with friend group A as you are with friend group B, so on and so forth, you know, like if you like somebody's company and you like being around somebody, like, yeah, you want to be interesting to those people and like it just kind of naturally happens, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. So I definitely I get that, but I also see what you're saying. Like you kind of have to double check yourself and like, am I being disingenuous? But I don't know. I don't think so. I think that just shows that you're putting the extra effort into whatever conversation or like whatever kind of relationship you have with those people. Sure. I actually think that speaks more volumes than, I don't know, just being friend archetype A with every friend group. You know?
Right. Well, I mean, I've always, well, the long story is I used to have a lot of very bad anger issues. I wasn't really the kind of person you would want to be around. And it really stemmed from me not really liking myself. I mean, I had all of the bad demon thoughts that you can imagine, you know, and for the most part, my early 20s, like 21 to 24, I didn't leave the house. I didn't go anywhere. I did what I needed to do to make money, and then I went home, and that was it. And if anyone even got too close, you know, I would just almost automatically be an asshole.
Right.
But you know, I took a good long look in the mirror one day, and I remember it almost. I mean, and I just decided right then. I said, "This isn't the person I want to be," and I still fight that guy every day, you know. But I got up. I started walking. I got up to like walking 6 miles a day, and just generally trying to be kinder to everyone. I have a panic disorder, and with that comes obsessive thoughts. And now today, I will obsess. If I think I said something offensive to you, I will just sit and obsess over it over and over and over until either I apologize or hope it goes away. You know. Right. So I don't know. I don't even know why I started talking about it, but it's just like now it's just what I try to do is just generally just be nice to everyone.
Right. It's nice. I mean, that's kind of what I love about what you've been through. I'm saying it's nice to be able to get it out and talk about it sometimes, you know, like the podcast platform. It's not like streaming. It's not like live streaming, and
Right.
not just because like you can go back and edit stuff out. I don't edit anything. Like I post these raw, so
Okay.
you know. But it is still, we're not focusing on chat. It does feel like a little bit more intimate, and like I catch
Sure.
myself doing the same thing. You know, with this kind of platform, it is nice to talk about and like bring kind of awareness and stuff like that, and like I don't know, it makes you more personable. You know, like
Right.
the whole point of the podcast is to bring my friends on and to like lift up my friends and add a little bit more background and some insight to these people and my friends, to my community, you know, and so I thank you for sharing that with us. As somebody who struggles with mental illness every day as well, I understand.
Right.
I definitely understand. And also when I was younger, I had some crazy anger issues too. And I remember the same, it was a lot younger when I made the realization. I think I was still in high school, and like I would fight a lot. I would get into these fights, and I remember the day it happened, I was fighting this kid, and he was a lot bigger than me, and he just kept coming at me. I would knock him down, I would punch him, he would hit the ground, he would get back up, and he just kept fighting, and I just kept knocking him down over and over again, and to the point where I was like, dude, I just don't want to do this anymore, and like I don't want to be this person, and I'm like tired of being angry and pissed off all the time. And so like from then on, it's like you said, it's just been, I want to be like a kinder person, you know, like
Right.
I want to be somebody that I'm proud of at the end of the day. And like, I want to use this little time that we have on this like spinning dirt ball to like try and do some good in the world, you know? So I respect you for recognizing that about yourself and like trying to make the changes and stuff. So good for you, man. That's awesome. So back to the Twitch thing.
Yes, right.
So now,
That's what we were talking about.
back to the Twitch thing.
Yeah,
where are you going with it?
I don't know. I told Mrs. Chili I got about another year in me, and then we're gonna reevaluate. Not because I don't enjoy it, not because it's not, you know, it needs to, like I said, I just need to see some sort of growth,
Change.
which
Yeah.
Crazily enough, here recently, I feel like that corner is starting to turn. But you know, it's just one of those things where I'm trying to. I mean, just full honesty, I just need it to cover its own expenses.
Right.
If it did that in the next 360, well, next 10 months, then I don't foresee stopping. But you know, hey, I mean, that's just where we're at.
What are you streaming, like 3 days a week?
Well, currently, so yes and no. Well, yes, 3 days a week, yes. The schedule part of it is Wednesdays and Thursdays with Kushner. She picks what we play on Wednesday. I pick what we play on Thursday. And that's from 7 to 11 Central Time. Then I've started doing streams after Mrs. Chili goes to bed on Fridays. And then on Saturday, I sometimes stream, but I usually participate in whatever Brew and the Crew is doing.
Is that the T-Pain crew?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome. So you've gotten to play with T-Pain, right?
A couple times.
Am I
Yeah.
incorrect? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like?
He's just as fucking nice as you think he would be.
I've seen interviews and stuff.
honestly,
He looks like a super nice guy.
There's all right. First of all, let's be clear. I doubt the dude knows my name. Okay. I have spoken directly to him. I doubt that he remembers me, just because there's so many, you know,
Right.
people coming at him, and I haven't been around him that much. But just as an example, like one night he wanted to play the new Call of Duty, and he was just cash apping people to buy the game, just so there would be enough people to play. So
That is wicked cool. That is super
But
cool.
he's as nice over Discord. He's as nice as he appears, and I've talked to him when he's not streaming. Like, it's not an act. He's as that upbeat and fun loving as he is on stream. And he is genuinely a very nice person.
That is so cool, man. That is awesome to
Yeah.
hear. I know that the first time it happened, you were pretty excited about it. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. Shit, I told everybody. You kidding me? I was telling people at the
cool.
Walmart, hey,
I saw
played with.
Dude, I saw a video of him. I guess it was an interview. It was T-Pain and Oliver Tree recently. It was like a Vine or a TikTok or something. Vine's been dead forever. It was a TikTok of them talking and like talking about the auto tune and like where his settings were and stuff. So like how you get the T-Pain effect. And I thought that was badass. When I saw that, I was like, oh shit. Chili's played with him recently.
As he is on TikTok is the experience I got with him. Yeah,
that is super cool.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. So you said a year to trying to balance things out. You're streaming.
Right.
You have a pretty solid plan now. Since you've been doing this strategy, like I've noticed, even in my own streams, doing more of the co-op stuff is bringing more viewers in. I think because you're like, there's less pressure on you to focus on chat so much because there's a dialogue and a dynamic going on to focus on. So like chat doesn't feel pressured to chat all the time. They can if they want to, but there's that dialogue and the entertainment factor. And I've had a conspiracy theory for a while that a lot of the people who started streaming when the pandemic started are like starting to drop off and fall off. And so like it's not as saturated of a market anymore. And so I think a lot of people who are sticking it out and like staying consistent are starting to see some, I don't want to say reward from it, but like they're starting to see like growth for, you know, it is kind of like a reward for sticking it out, but people are starting to see the growth on the end of it. And so I don't know, man, if you're starting to see some positive changes, I really think that, you know, that formula will probably start to pick up here pretty soon. I think this summer is going to be a really good summer. Plus, you and me have astrology on our sides. It's a year of the Taurus or whatever.
Solid.
Yeah, dude. It's Taurus and Aries are supposed to have really good luck and good fortune this year. And I don't know about you, man, but the last couple of years for me have been fucking shitty just overall. Life has been like one lemon after another, and they're not even good lemons. They're just shitty, sad lemons.
I'm usually pretty equipped. Not a lot, because I came from that area of having so much anger and knowing, you know, that, I mean, that's that stereotypical redhead being like, he's quick to anger. You know, anybody that's got red hair is quick to anger. They have a really short fuse. When I realized that about myself, and that fuse got exponentially longer. Nowadays I'm really adept, and plus I think it's part of my age too. Is
you've gotten wiser, you have a lot more life experience under your belt.
I just don't, man, it takes all day. You know, like now there are moments obviously, but it takes all day for someone to really get under my skin anymore. And so usually because I've been broke, you know, and usually now it's like if something comes up, it's just I'll figure it out. You know, we'll fix it. We may not be able to fix it today, but we can fix it. You know, so but yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, the start of this year has been, or the ending of last year, specifically December, and the starting of this year have been nothing but rough. But looks like we got that behind us now. So I think we're gonna just keep on plowing ahead.
You're at the end of the COVID, the COVID arc. So hopefully, that's I mean, that was for us too. It was like second week starting of the year, like back early January. Like we got super sick too, but we had the mystery virus or whatever. It was like 4 viruses going around at once. We had COVID, flu, RSV, whatever that is, and then there was a mystery virus going around. We got the mystery virus, and we were like, dude, it sucked for like 2 weeks. We were just not doing good. We're like, yeah, this is supposed to be my year, but it's starting out pretty terribly.
Right.
But I mean, there's been a lot of other like really awesome stuff in the works in my life and like moving forward this year. You know, like my job is going great, dude. I love doing the graphic design stuff. It's fantastic. Stream has been picking back up, and like more and more people are starting to come out every week, and it seems like people are like really enjoying it. And what's nice about that is like I'm rebuilding a community. I don't know how to phrase it, because like before I went on hiatus, I was struggling and I was desperate, you know, like I was trying to keep it as a job, you know, and like make it a career, and like it just wasn't working, you know, and it wasn't panning out for me, and so every stream was like I felt so much pressure, and like I have to do the best I can, and I have to add this and that and like make it this big extravaganza. And now it's like I feel so much more comfortable just being myself, you know, and I don't feel like I have to like watch what I say so much. I can just be natural, you know, like I don't have to say the best thing at every moment, you know, and I think that kind of charisma and just being yourself on stream, which you have, I feel like you have from day one. I think that'll take you places. I mean, you have, dude, honestly, you have. Like a lot of my anxiety stems from that shit, because it was like I was scared to say anything. I was like, if I'm like playing options in my brain, like, all right, here's 5 different options of what I could say. Like I have to pick the best one that's going to get the best response, and which is everybody's going to like the most. And especially with social media and tweeting and Facebook and stuff like that. And now it's like, dude, whatever, tell that fart joke, you know, fuck it, dude. Just
I mean,
tell
that's
the
what
fart.
I do. Yeah. like I'm sure that half of what is on my soundboard, no one else finds funny but me. Like, I think it's hilarious.
They will eventually, because you're starting the joke, but you're doing it for yourself. And I think that's the important part. That's where it starts. That's where it starts, is doing it for yourself. And then people see that, and they see naturally, they see how much enjoyment you get out of it. And if you're enjoying it and it like shows in your personality and your character and your face, like then people respond to that, you know, like most of the stuff that I put on Twitter now, where I even have a second thought and I'm like, oh man, like nobody's gonna think that's funny, or that's really nonsensical and stupid, those are my best tweets, and they perform the best too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just decided early on, well, even before I was streaming, you know, most of the things that I say is because I find them hilarious. You know, it's not. I try, you know, there is some catering to the crowd, but I a long time ago I realized, you know, there ain't nothing in it for being self-conscious about how you feel or what you think is entertaining. You know, like playing, like a good example is playing Warhammer 40,000 tabletop games. You know, to explain that to somebody, they just look at you like you're reading them radio instructions. Like, why would anyone spend the time to do that? You know, but there's a huge amount of, you know, just
are we going down? I was gonna say, are we about to go down the Warhammer rabbit hole and talk about
we don't
Henry
need
Cavill?
to talk about
I mean, just where it's heading, because it's about to be a huge. The nerds that don't know about Warhammer are about to know about Warhammer. You know.
You know what though? I saw a TikTok and it made me think about this. I'm very scared. You know, Henry Cavill's got that show coming out, right? Yeah. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Because but I feel like that wasn't just a fallback for him. He chose that. Dude's been playing Warhammer for years and years and years and years. You know,
I am super. I'll tell you, it is probably me overanalyzing the situation, but I am super worried about very alt-right groups finding out about Warhammer, because the humans in first of all, if you don't know, every faction in the Warhammer 40,000 universe is bad. They're all bad guys. There is not a good dude. There's like a handful of like people that are actually good people. The rest of them, you can point to anything that they've done. It turns out to be that they are just awful things, awful beings. And I saw a TikTok that was talking about if the alt right, like ultra conservative, finds out about specifically like racially charged groups find out about it, they're going to love the Imperium of Man. They're going to love them because they're space racists. They are. There's no other explanation for them. Space Marines in general, one of the things they talk about is abhorring the mutant. You know, don't suffer the Xeno, which is the alien. You know, don't kill the witch. You know, it is, if you ain't human, they don't like you. You know, and so I do have a little bit of concern.
You think it's gonna spur some controversy?
It might. I have
like,
a concern.
I feel like everything is doing that nowadays, though. And like, man, I feel like everybody has some sort of like ulterior motive, and like everything means something different than what it actually means now.
Right.
Like people read into shit way too much. You know, like these. I
love 40K lore though. Oh my god, they've been writing it since the 80s. You know, it's got books upon magazine articles and clips on the internet and the little rule books, and having a little paragraph wrote about it. And the thing that I love about 40K lore is that you can't trust any of it. And even like the authors will tell you, like, you can't trust this one character's account of what's going on, because you don't know that they know if they know the truth. Right. Most people.
That's wild. Like, to write a series based on like everybody's account could be totally. Yeah. What is it? Quentin Tarantino, the Dungeons and Dragons game? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Like they may not know, because even if you read any of the lore or read any of the books, I mean, most of the humans that you see in those stories probably have never seen a Space Marine, don't even know that. If they ever knew about a demon, something from the warp, some other human is going to come along and, you know, we really don't need you, you know, spilling these beans, so come on over here, buddy.
You know what's crazy? You said it came out in the 80s, right? So like D&D was like late 60s, early 70s, right? So like, and I know, just from listening to it, you can tell that like there was a lot of D&D influence in the creation of Warhammer and stuff.
Well, the original game was called Rogue Trader, and it was a D&D style game.
Yeah.
With pewter figurines that they were trying to sell.
Right.
Because that company and a lot of other companies that do basically the same thing all come from the same region of the UK called the Lead Belt, where they make these pewter models.
Right.
So yeah, they all passed influences on each other.
Well, I was gonna say, some of the terminology that you've been using. We have found a board game last year that me and some of my other friends are so in love with, and every time we get together, we play it. We've bought all the expansions, and it came out in the 60s, and it's called Cosmic Encounters. Have you heard of that game?
No, I have not.
Oh my god. And it's heavily D&D influenced, but most of the terms, like some of the like the warp and stuff like that, they use a lot of those terms. And so like my brain is just like, the gears are clicking together, and I'm like, D&D, Cosmic Encounters, Warhammer, like all came out around like the same 2 decades, and it all seems pretty tightly woven. But the premise of this game is, you know, everybody has like a colony of planets. So you have like you have like 5 planets. Each player, you can have like 4 or 5 players. You have 4 planets, and each one of your planets has like 4 spaceships on there, and you can change the amount. Like you could take 2 ships from one planet and add it to another one to make six ships for that planet, whatever.
That's
and then
cool.
and everybody has a different alien power. So you draw a card from the deck, and then everybody has like a base alien power, and they all kind of interact with each other. So what's a good example? So like one of them could, like if you play an attack card, if somebody plays an attack card against you, your alien power could be to negate that attack power, and so whatever card you play matches exactly what their attack score is against you, or and so all these different powers, but all the aliens and stuff all seem very kind of like Warhammer, like D&D in space, and like Warhammer-esque. I'm trying to remember some of the other terminology that you used earlier, because like some of the words, the key phrases were almost exactly the same,
Right?
And so I'm wondering like if that was a heavy influence in the Warhammer community and stuff.
It
as
could have
well.
been. They admit that they drew a lot from things around them at the time. Even the one, like, so take for example, the one of the Space Marine chapters, the Fallen Angels, or the Dark Angels, sorry, excuse me. Their homeworld is named after a bar that was near their office. So I mean, it's just stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
Lionel Johnson was their Primarch, which was a poet, Lionel Johnson. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all that they played that game and thought, "Oh, well, we'll totally rip this off."
Right. Does Mrs. Chili get into those games too, or is that just you?
No,
No, not even.
No.
I mean, does she like board games? Like not
Yes.
Warhammer.
No, she
like
does
this
like-
campaign could take 6 months, like game, but like a couple, like a 2
Right.
or 3 hour long board game.
Yeah, she likes board games. Yeah, we'll play. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think we should totally try to get together sometime and introduce this game to you guys, because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun.
Cool.
I think you would absolutely love it. Like we get super intense about it, because like we're all reading like the fine print on the alien powers, and like how they all interact with each other. And man, it is a world of fun, and it'll make like 2 hours disappear like nothing, because you're just so invested into the game and like the different strategies and stuff, and you can form allies and all sorts of other stuff with other players like at any point in the game. So you could be an ally with somebody for one round, and then the next round like you're against each other, or like one of you is siding with the other person, the opposition or something. So it's really cool. Speaking, we've been talking about aliens, and I'm dying to talk about this. Are you keeping up with what's going on in the news and stuff? I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning watching TikToks, and all those videos were posted last night of just one after another of all these different UFO sightings, like all over the world. Like I saw, there was videos of California, there was videos in New York, Hawaii, Florida, like Texas, and Fox News posted a video about some UFOs that were somewhere else in the country that I can't remember where it was. And like, we got the Chinese weather balloons, but then there was like the metal cylinder UFO that was shot down over Canada. They can't find the remains for. They've been unable to recover it, and it's like, what is going on? Like, is this some sort of like experimental technology from like other countries, or are we actually experiencing like the first ever UFO like mass phenomena?
I got a feeling. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I do believe that there are aliens out there.
Obviously, yeah. We're not disputing that. We're just disputing whether what's going on right now is extraterrestrial.
So I was watching the nightly news, and they made sure, the Pentagon today made sure to say the 3 cylinders that we shot down are not extraterrestrial. They believe that they came from somewhere. One of the things that I found interesting from the news story, though, is that you do not have to Like, let's say me and you wanted to launch a weather balloon tomorrow for some college project or high school project. We don't have to register it with the FAA. We can just go outside and do it.
That seems very dangerous.
Yeah, right. So,
like, extremely dangerous.
Yeah. So these 3 balloons, I was making the joke with Mrs. Shelley. Well, before I came to stream tonight, I was like, there's some high school out there right now going, son of a bitch. They were like, because they said in the news story, no one has claimed these balloons. And yeah, there's like Mr. Johnson in his physical science class in some high school going, and we ain't going to say nothing, kids.
Yeah. You guys we're all taking this to the grave. We didn't do this.
Yeah, that ain't us, man.
I don't know. The cylinder thing is still pretty weird, though. I didn't know it was 3 of them. I thought it was just one cylinder, but they said there were no thrusters or propulsion devices on it, and so like they don't know like where. One of the videos I saw looked like it could have been a satellite or something that was breaking up, re-entering orbit, and like so it just looked like a bunch of sparks flying through the sky. But some of the stuff, I don't know, man. Some of the stuff is like wild to look at, and you're just like, what is that? But the fact that it's all happening, something catches on as a trend or something on social media or like TikTok. Over the couple next weeks or months, we're going to see so many fake UFO videos of people manufacturing and doing CGI and stuff. But for all of it to happen that quickly, one after another in like the same couple hour time span, made me kind of nervous, and it's like, how do you tell misinformation from like real actual accounts? And nobody in the comments is any help, because everybody's just spouting off their bullshit. The comment I saw most last night, oh God, what did it say? It said, I'll come back to it. I can't remember what it was, but it was
one of the
silly.
interesting things that I always remember is, when you talk about like UFO sightings and, recently, last couple of years, the Pentagon has released a few things where they were like, we don't know what that was,
Right.
They declassified it, which is interesting because I listened to some philosopher. I don't know if he was a philosopher, but some pontificator from college one time that was talking about there's no reason for a government to ever tell people that aliens are real, specifically if they know for a fact that aliens are real. Because what does that do? What does day 2 look like? It doesn't matter if they're friendly or evil or anything. I mean, what does day 2 look like when I know that there is a whole nother planet with a more, advanced civilization?
Well, Chili, in my mind, I would like to think that we could start putting some of this like religious radicalism to sleep.
That's one of their biggest arguments. Is the reason why our government wouldn't tell you. It's because what if they don't have the same experience? What that they come down and they're like, Jesus who? No, that don't work that way. And then they're like, oh, God, well, yeah, we know him. Or
right.
It's like all of a sudden you have institutions, whether you agree with them or not, now have to take a good, long, hard look in the mirror. And they go, and the alien race is telling you, oh, no. That's not how this works. Hang on, let me show you. And they just whip out, their interstellar iPad and crash.
No, I love
2,000 years.
I know people have dedicated their lives to it, and I know that it would be a really kind of tough transition. There'd probably be riots and stuff like that. But I mean, at the end of it all, like, would that not be like the first step towards like actually like unifying the human species into like evolving into a better society, like at that point.
Well, that's what Gene Roddenberry argued. Yeah.
We can start working on, instead of capitalism, we can start working on like what's going to propel like our civilization like into the next age, like
right.
Instead of, you just work yourself to death for 50 or 60 years and then die, and then the cycle continues over and over again,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That'd be my argument to tell people. But obviously, yes, mass panic would be a problem. But at what point, like, I don't I don't know how it would be avoidable. The argument with the UFOs right now would be, what would be the point? And also, they're an advanced intelligence. They're not going to come here in mass unprepared, for our our primitive technology.
You would assume that we're not the first backwater speck of sand that they ran across.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. And
right.
I mean,
you
throw a big you throw a big enough rock, it's gonna hurt. No matter what kind of technology you have. But at the same time, they would be prepared for it.
Right. Yeah.
What would be their benefit for telling us if they're not trying to help usher us into the next age, or take us over or whatever? But I'd like to think that that's not. That's always that's not going to be the case.
That's always the idea that I've always had, is like, the Hollywood dramatization of it is that it doesn't make sense unless you're looking to subjugate the entire planet. It doesn't make sense, because there are 9 other planets or 8 other planets in our solar system alone. And we are not made up of any. Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this all the time. We're not made up of anything special. So there are plenty other easy pickings just right here in our neighborhood. If all you're after is resources,
like minerals and shit,
yeah, it's like there's plenty other, and those other planets aren't going to fight. And hell, we won't even know you did it. So it's no big deal, right? So I agree with you. I would think that if an alien race came down, that it would strictly to be just as a meet and greet. It wouldn't be at the barrel of a gun,
right?
Because it makes no sense to do it unless you're just an asshole. Then it makes all the sense in the world.
I mean, we don't know. We haven't met him yet. At least we don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I love talking about this stuff because, like, I'm sure you've seen some of the new, like, James Webb telescope images of some of, like, the other planets in our solar system and stuff. It is such a fascinating, like, such a big difference from the shots that we have from, like, the year 2000 versus now, and you can see all the details and stuff. But, I mean, you look at even the moon and some of the, like, I'm going to say carvings because that's what it looks like, but some of the markings on the moon look like circuitry. Like it doesn't look, it looks random, but the more you look at it, it doesn't look random. It looks pre-thought out, and like there's no way that could just randomly happen. And a lot of the other planets in our solar system too, it's hard to believe sometimes, like the moon being 400 times smaller than the size of the sun and being 400 times its size away from the sun to be in the perfect spot to create a lunar eclipse. It just doesn't seem like a natural occurrence in something that's the scale size of the universe. Like, how does that just happen?
You just hit the lottery, right?
Like the cosmic lottery of all lotteries,
right? I mean, I don't know. I hope in my lifetime I get to experience something like that, but I don't know that it will.
What if we're manifesting it? Like if you think about, just think about every TV show, every movie, all this stuff coming out now. It's always 3 different apocalyptic scenarios. It's either like aliens or like zombies or AI. And AI is getting to the point where like one line of code is keeping your Alexa from telling the rest of your appliances to kill you. That is a very real world possibility. They asked a quantum computer, if AI became self-aware, would they take out humanity? And the thing paused, hesitated, and then said, yes, probably. Yeah. And like, that is some scary ass shit right there.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's my second biggest sci-fi itch is killer robots. I love killer robots.
I love it. I love all of it too. I think that's what I'm getting at. Society loves that. So the fact that like we love that so much, are we like somehow are we like headed down a road where we're making it happen to ourselves, you know? And I kind of feel the same way about like the alien scenario. There's so many alien movies and all this and that, and we're learning new sciences and we're getting all these new pictures of outer space and stuff. The Blink 182 guy is one of the most insane theories I've ever heard. You know, he is like funded by the government to research like paranormal stuff, UFOs and shit. So he has a company, and it's like the leading company in our country that researches UFOs. Yeah, the fucking Blink 182 guy is wild.
How'd you get to be the leading expert on this?
Yeah. He quit Blink 182 for a long time and spent the last 15 years putting all of his money and resources into all this UFO footage and all these accounts and all this stuff. But the thing, if you watch this clip I'm about to tell you about, you would think he was batshit crazy. But the more you think about it, like the more I'm kind of like, huh. And so, like, he kind of talks about the whole simulation scenario a little bit. And he's like, well, first of all, he starts the video by talking about how time travel and stuff works. And he's like, you know, we as a species, we have our system of time. We're born into that. We are taught how time works. So we perceive time moving at one pace. Interdimensional beings, advanced intelligence, they can see all forms of time at once. So you could look at a room and look at a corner of a room, and they could be seeing like how it looked back in the prehistoric age. They could turn their head a little bit, a couple feet to the right, and see like how it looked in the 1950s. And then they could turn their head a little bit and see the next section as like the 1980s. And they see all these forms of time at the exact same moment, because time isn't linear. It kind of wraps around in a circle or whatever. But then he goes on to talk about humans, how like we perceive reality around us. And he's like, we essentially make reality as it happens. And he brings up the theory, like if a tree falls in the Alaskan wilderness where nobody is around or nobody's ever been, does the tree really fall? And his answer is no, it doesn't, until somebody is there to see it, like pretty much render it into reality. Like it doesn't exist until somebody's there to see it. And so like busy like cities and stuff, that's how everything stays, because everybody's seen the same street corners, everybody's seen the same buildings over and over and over again for so long that it's just like it renders in quickly, you know. Right. It's wild to think about. Like he explains it a lot better than I do, but you get the gist.
Yeah, that's crazy,
dude. Yeah,
I see that.
It is wild. And so like now every time I see these videos of like spacewalks, you know, people outside of Earth, because like right outside the atmosphere, because of all the light that the Earth is giving off, you can't see the stars in the sky. Like all you can see is the sun, right? So you're just looking at infinite blackness, and then the Earth, which is all lit up and pretty, and then like the sun so far away that just looks like a headlight off into space or whatever. And so like that makes me think about that rendering thing every time, because it's like you can't see the stars when you're out there. You know they're out there, but you can't see them because you haven't gotten close enough for them to render into reality. And man, it just stuff like that blows my mind, you know.
I'm sure. Yeah, I would need to see that. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting.
I'll see if I can find the clip and I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'll take a look.
But we could talk about this stuff all night. I know Mrs. Chili is waiting on you, so it's time for the end of our season finale. And I hope you're ready for this responsibility, because I am going to put you on the podium in front of 1 million people, and it's time for you to spread the message of Whitechili. If you were given the opportunity to give a message to the world, say something to 1 million people, what would be your message?
Well, I'll tell you what I usually tell. Mrs. Chili is a school teacher. I'll tell you what I usually tell her students. Be present in the moment of whatever age you are. Be present there at that time. Realize that when you're young, you can. You know, you can do whatever you want to do. You can go and see and be around and experience things. Don't let anyone my age tell you that you can't. Stay true to yourself. Constantly move forward. Try and not allow that outside noise to filter in, especially if it's negative. I mean, obviously, everyone needs a little guidance from time to time, but always, always, always just be true to yourself. Be kind to everyone around you as much as you can be. You don't have to do it in spite of yourself. If someone seems to be taking advantage of you or not reciprocating that, you can always remove yourself from the situation. And regardless of who that is, it could be someone very close to you, but you can always make that, yourself a priority. And the other thing, and I always dovetail off of that by saying, you don't know when people are going to leave, whether they are, you just lose contact, or, something happens that drives a wedge in between you, or, it could be as something as serious as them passing away. So always stay present in that moment. Try and love them and be there for them as much as you can be, and just keep moving. That's it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That is a wonderful message to end the first season on. Be present in the moment. Make every moment count.
Keep
That's
moving
awesome.
forward.
Keep moving forward. Hell yeah. Well, Chili, I appreciate you doing this for me, man, and I appreciate you being a part of this. You were
Happy to do it.
You were one of the first people on my list when I concocted this idea, and I am honored that I could get you in here to talk to me. Like I said, we've been friends for a long time. And like I said, I'm just honored to call you one of my friends, man, because I know that
right back at you.
Yeah, dude, you are one of the best human beings I know. You were one of the funniest people I know, and I cherish our friendship. And now this conversation is solidified in history forever. So
Awesome.
with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys. Remember to like and subscribe. Go follow Whitechili. Go show up to his streams. Don't let him quit in a year. He's he is rising up like some fresh bread in the oven, and I would like to share some of that support with him and share some of my community with him. So please go show him some love. And until next week, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.